Hey nerds, it's Nathan, and today I'm just going to do a quick cut of The Eye of the World. I did promise you a full-length video, but unfortunately, I made a rookie error. I recorded it with my friend Sonny, who's read the whole series. We had a great long chat about it, but unfortunately, all I got was a lot of dead air. So the audio just had all this whitewash noise over it.
I feel like the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think I left the microphone just a little too far away. And like a rookie, because I am, I didn't check before we started recording. So I have done numerous checks today with the camera, how everything looks, the fucking audio especially. It is unfortunate, but I can still talk about the book. I can still talk about The Wheel of Time, or more specifically, The Eye of the World, which is the first in the entire series. One of the questions that Sonny kept asking me throughout the whole thing, do you think you're going to read the second one? Do you think you're going to read the series? Do you think you're going to read it? And the answer is no. Honestly, no. I was very critical of this book. I was super critical of this book because of the amount of hype it has. The amount of people... I know a few people who've actually read the whole series and they loved it. They loved it, loved it, loved it. I feel a little part of that is the nostalgia effect. It's like when you listen to the same music that you've been listening to since you're a teenager. It's that satisfying part of the subconscious. I feel it's the same with books. I do it myself with certain things. I definitely wouldn't recommend them to people because of that fact. I found this to be an incredibly hard read. This book has been shrunken down to a little under 800 pages just because of the text type and the spacing, and to try and make it more manageable and obviously more sellable and advertisable. I don't know, that's a word. To the mainstream audience that got into it because of the show. Now, I did watch the show, and I feel like the show butchered a lot of it, which is a little unfair. But I think if you hadn't read the book, you could easily watch the show and enjoy it. It actually was pretty damn good, I must admit. The book, I do have a few things that just little things that just shit me a little bit. But nothing to make the book any less than what it is. This is a great book. Like, oh shit, that scared the fuck out of me. Just gonna lie that on its side. Please don't fall. No, the book was great. Robert Jordanson is an excellent world builder, but I don't know if I loved his writing. And I'm probably gonna get so much fucking hate for this, but the thing is, I'm gonna get hate for it from people that have read the whole thing. Every time I speak about this book, every time I told someone I'm reading it, every time I told someone I'm going to do a review on it, they kept saying the same thing. Oh, it's an amazing series. The whole thing. The character development across the whole thing. Our characters start at like 15, 16 years old. By the end of the series, they're like mid to late 20s, I think. If there wasn't any character development in 10 plus years of growing up, then I would be extremely fucking disappointed. But there's not. Secondly, there's 14 books. 14 fucking books. And they're all like this. They're all 7, 8, 9, 1,900 pages, 1,000 pages. It's insane. They're huge books. I had a variety of very simple base questions that I wanted Sonny to answer. And his response was, oh, that sort of gets covered in like book 3. I have to wait to the third 1,000 page book for a very simple answer to a very simple question. I asked something about the magic system, and he goes, oh, they really dive deep into it in like book 7, or I can't remember, maybe that was book 3, I'm not sure. But I asked him another simple question. I thought, I'd love to know the answer to this. Obviously, that's what makes people want to read it. They want to know. They got to know. And he said, we find out that particular thing in book 6 or 7. Book 6 or 7? No, I'm sorry. I know I'm probably going to harp on about this a bit, but everyone keeps saying, oh, but yeah, but no, but you gotta like read the next book and the next book and the next book. And, you know, books 5 and 6 are a real drag, but they're really worth it. They're a setup book. This book was a drag. This book was so slow. I found the pacing very, very strange. We had our main characters on the run for weeks at a time, and then suddenly, when a horde of these monsters, they call them Trollocs, these horde of these Trollocs come in, it's like finally a battle's about to ensue. The battle's 3 pages, if that, and it was fast. It was non-descriptive. It was just meh. Like we had like 9 chapters of running away. We had 9 chapters of running away. So that's probably my biggest critique of this book. I can't critique the series. I haven't read the series, but from everything that people are telling me and everything that I read from this book, the pacing is painful. I have a lot of positives because it's a great book, great world building, and I like the characters as they are, and everyone keeps telling me that the character development is the pinnacle of what makes this series so exquisite. And I love that. I can't wait to sort of learn about that a bit more. I think I'm more going to do lore deep dives into this world than actually read the books, for that simple fact of their size. Only 2 other tiny really critiques. In the first half of the book, and mind you, probably about a third, but like say that much, right? Right. We have characters, let's call them witches for brevity's sake. They're called Aes Sedai. They're women who can use magic. Women can use magic without going insane. Men cannot. Right? Nice and simple. The Aes Sedai are looked at very poorly, as the general consensus is that they broke the world. The Aes Sedai fuck shit up when they shouldn't have. They messed with powers far beyond their reach. And a lot of people don't trust them. They think they're witches. They think they're evil. Yada, yada, yada. And probably for like a good first third of the book. Maybe, you know what? Fuck it. The first half of the book. Our author, Robert Jordanson, is trying to get that message across that people fear them. That people are scared of them. And that's fine. Except for the fact of, we have a sentence. The Aes Sedai, she's talking and she's telling them what to do, and one of our main characters gets shitty and he sort of snips at her. And he goes, oh fuck, we see, he goes, oh, I really shouldn't have done that. And then there's a full stop. To an Aes Sedai. And that little emphasis, to an Aes Sedai, that's probably fine once, twice. I think it's after almost every other sentence that involves the Aes Sedai. That involves our witch, Moiraine. Alright? That involves the woman with the magical powers. If she's involved in a sentence, at one point, one of our characters is spying on her and a conversation she's having with one of his friends. He's listening in and he's thinking, I shouldn't be doing this because it's wrong. I shouldn't be doing this because one of them's my friend. I shouldn't be doing this because she's a very, 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 very powerful woman. She's dangerous. She could turn me into fucking dust. That's the point. That's the whole thing. It's enwrapped. It's perfectly written. It's beautifully written. And then, of course, at the end of the sentence it goes, and Aes Sedai. We know what the fuck she is. We're like this far into the fucking book. Okay, we know what she is. We know she's powerful. Why do you have to keep... And then we move on to the later half of the book. And as they get closer and closer and closer to one of their main goals, we see that less and less people have a problem with the Aes Sedai. In fact, several are friends and allies. Like, I don't mean people, I mean groups. It's like, why put in all that emphasis to show how naive and ignorant and terrified people are of things that they don't understand, with repeating that phrase, an Aes Sedai, the Aes Sedai, Aes Sedai, Aes Sedai, after every sentence, or every other sentence, to then have the other half of the book be like, oh, yes, Mistress Moiraine, oh, thank God you've come back to step on us. Like the ants we are. I don't know. That just bugged me. My last nitpicky critique. One of the characters is called Nynaeve. She's a young wisdom. I don't know how to describe it. Think of it like an elder, but she's not. She's quite young. Basically, an Aes Sedai has a guardian called a warder. Now, in the book, there's actually a quote that says, "Warders are warriors that are the best of men." And Lan is Moraine's warder. Lan is the best amongst warders. And yet, right at the sort of like the beginning, sort of in the first quarter, this nobody, hyper aggressive farm girl who thinks she's smarter than everyone else manages to catch up to them. They've been on the road for weeks, riding through the night, using magic to stimulate the horses to continue riding, to outrun their enemy. And yet somehow she doesn't run into the enemy and she catches up to them. He's been scouting ahead, going back and removing their tracks, going forward and scouting ahead. He's been doing this for like weeks on end. They ride through the night, multiple nights in a row, take a break, get up and do it all again. And when they're in the middle of a city, a huge city, well, not a huge city, but a city, she catches them. How? Oh, her dad taught her how to hunt rabbits. I'm sorry, that is the pissest, weakest fucking plot armor I've ever heard. Obviously, she needs to be in the story, and he couldn't figure out how to get her there. It was bad enough that they had all these characters on the road at once. Jordan obviously had to find a way to squeeze her in there, and that was it. That was his, yeah, she's here because she's here. And everyone went, oh, nice, on it, yeah. No, that's kind of lazy writing. If I'm being honest, it's kind of lazy writing. I feel Nynaeve and the other girl in the story, Egwene, they don't, yeah, for pretty much 90% of this book, actually probably 95% of this book, they do fucking nothing. They do nothing. They kind of just stand to the side, or they're part of like a dialogue scene, and that's about it. And I understand that we want to see them in those dialogue scenes because in books to come, we see their growth, we see them grow as people, as Aes Sedai, whatever is in store for them. We obviously need them in this book. We obviously need them here as novices, as nobodies, and then we see them become greater. And I get that. But I think if you could probably easily take out, I don't know, 60 pages just with it because they don't need to be there. But I'm not going to continue shit talking on it because that's pretty much it. I got super critical. Everyone told me how amazing this book was, so I went into it with this much expectation and I got this much. Is what it is, but I must say I do like his world building. I do like his characters. Even though Nynaeve and Egwene kind of did nothing, I like his characters. I like Matt. I like Rand. I like... oh my god, I forgot his name. Perrin. I like Perrin the most. I forgot his name. I like Perrin. I liked Tom. Lan. Moiraine. Sweet. I like all the characters. I love what they did with Matt. Matt gets like essentially semi-possessed by a cursed dagger. Rand, he's like the main focus of this book. Like we see everybody, but he's the main focus, which they're trying to lead you into believing he's like the savior. But who knows? That's 13 books away, so take that what you will. Moiraine and Lan have like this weird connection. It's obviously a magical connection. No, I don't know. I like the characters. I like the world building. I think the idea of the history behind it is really interesting. Jordan obviously took so much inspiration from Tolkien because the size of the world and more importantly, the size of their history is huge. And it's this idea, and the whole idea of the Wheel of Time is that this pattern of war and an evil one coming to claim everything, and then a savior coming to save the world. And sometimes the savior fails, or sometimes the savior joins the dark one, or sometimes the savior wins. And it's just this repetitive cycle over and over and over again of like the world being healed and whole and getting to advance to a certain point, and then collapsing in on itself as the wheel rotates around again, as a new era begins, as the next era begins. And it's just this pattern. I really like that. The idea is that their great hero was called the Dragon, and ever since then people have been looking for what they call the Dragon Reborn, and that's what they think one of our main characters is, this Dragon Reborn. Fuck, and it's intense. I wish Robert went into it a little bit more with some detail. We get so lost. I got so lost with so much stuff. And my friend Sonny said very similar things. He was like, yeah, you kind of do get a bit like, what the fuck? Because they just name drop, and they drop these like events that happen, and they drop these cities that no one's heard of or talked about so far in the book. And they do that a lot, and they just do it in quick, rapid succession. And obviously the idea is to make you go, what's that? What's that about? What happened? What happened with this legendary person in this legendary city? I want to know. Well, you can't. And by the sound of it, you're not going to find out for a very long fucking time. But that is good. I like that. I love that intensity. I love that level of lore. But I don't like the fact that everyone kind of just throws around all this shit very casually, and then just leaves our young fucking nobody farmers, children, in the dark. That miscommunication trope does annoy me a little bit, because it would take 5 seconds to explain, I don't know, some of it. Like, you don't need to explain the whole story. You don't need to go through the whole history within book 1. You just need to give them a tiny bit, so that the main characters aren't just going, huh? But no, the level and intensity of lore is impressive. I must admit, it's impressive. And I think he just continues to expand on it through all the other books in the series, by what I've been like informed about. No, very good. I love his characters. I love his lore and his setting. I like the magic. I like some of the things that have been explained about the magic. Now, it starts as a soft magic system, and then throughout the rest of the series, it actually becomes a hard magic system. It's shown and appears that way, but then it actually makes more sense as you go along. And once again, I can't be fucked. I can't be fucked waiting for someone to explain to me how it all works. My friend Sonny gave me a very rough explanation, which kind of did the job. What I know of this, what I saw in the TV series, and how it's stylized, I get it. It sounds really cool. It sounds really interesting. I don't need to go through 900 page books to get there. I really don't. I don't have that patience or that power of will. But I did like the magic. I love Perrin. And I like Rand a little bit, but Rand's a bit arrogant. But I love Perrin, and I love this thing. He has this like kind of connection with wolves. It's part of his bloodline. And this kind of gift has been lost because it was originally shunned. But it is so cool. I really like the way it's described. I think Robert did an excellent job kind of bringing forth this idea of being able to mentally connect with creatures that don't use your language. I think that was brilliant. I loved all those chapters. Any chapters with Perrin and his wolves, I loved. I thought it was fucking hectic. I don't know, if you love that Tolkien-esque large-scale story, large-scale adventure over an extremely long period of time, pick it up. Absolutely pick it up. If you can't be fucked, watch the show. I reckon the show is pretty good. It does butcher a fair bit of the storyline, but at the same token, they're trying to minimize a lot. They're trying to push in. I know the first series got a bit scrambled. The first season got a bit scrambled because of COVID. But the things that you need to know are in the show. a lot of stuff that this book took forever to get to are in the show, and even stuff that's not in this book are in the show. They took shit from like other books and just brought it in because they're like, no one's gonna watch it if they don't know what the fuck's happening, and I agree with that. Yeah. Other than that, if you're not into that kind of massive size, if you want a really fun fantasy book, that's not it. That's not it. I'm sorry, it's not. I'm sure all the Wheel of Time fans are going to lose their mind, but I'm going to say the same thing to you they said to me. Oh, the whole thing, you're not taking into account, like, I can't. I haven't read it. I'm only doing a critical review of what's in front of me, and what's in front of me didn't live up to what was presented to me, what was told to me. If you want an easy read, or you just want a read that you can fly through, that's not it. That is a hard read. It is a slog of a read. It's dense, and apparently that's not even the densest one. I always think, a few people even said, oh yeah, the first one's a bit like drudgy along. Why? The first one is the one that has to pull you in, so you read the rest. And it didn't pull me in enough, unfortunately. I couldn't do it. But it's still a good book. I think you should check it out. I think everyone should check it out, really. I'm never going to tell someone not to read something, but I am going to say, if you're not into long, hard reads, if you're not into really complex lore or really big histories, or really slow, methodical storylines, don't pick it up. But if you are into all that shit, if you're a big Tolkien fan, if you like massive expanding worlds, go for it. Absolutely fucking go for it. Anyway, see you later, guys. Check out this book. Go for it. Go nuts. Pick up the Wheel of Time. Just don't drop it, because you might accidentally break your foot, because it's a fucking brick.